Hey freshmen, are you ready for this? It's time to begin your scheduling for your sophomore year. So let's get started. My name is Mrs. Ducharme, and I am the school counselor for students whose last names O through R. If your last name is A through COL, your counselor is Mr. Geitler. If your last name is CR through H, your counselor is Mrs. Kelly. Now, Mrs. Kelly's been out on maternity leave this year, and Mr. Larson has been filling in. However, Mrs. Kelly is planning to return this coming semester, and she is looking forward to meeting all of you. If your last name is J through N, you have Mrs. Smith. And if your last name is S through Z, you have Miss Rounds. If you ever need anything, you can always send us a Brave Square message, and we will be happy to assist you. Now let's talk about our timeline for this spring. Each of your teachers is going to be making a recommendation on your behalf for next year. So for example, your science teacher will make a recommendation for your next year's science class. Your math teacher will make a recommendation for your math class, and so on. Teachers will submit these recommendations to your school counselor. If you're curious about what your teachers are recommending you for, you can always ask them. Often these are good discussions, and many of your questions can be answered just through a simple conversation with your classroom teacher. You can see here that scheduling meetings with your counselor will begin in February, and they will go all the way through March. These are individual meetings in person or over Zoom. At that time, we will share with you the recommendations that your teacher submitted, and we can discuss a plan for your sophomore schedule. Then we send a list of courses that we develop together with you home so that your parents can review it. If you have any changes that you want to make after our meeting, you have till April 9th to make those changes. And that would just simply be you or your parents calling the school counselor and letting them know that you've changed your mind on a course. When creating your schedule, many things go into it, and there are things that we should be considering. So this should be a refresher for you. All students should take 6 classes plus PE all year long. So if you imagine in a 9-period day, if you were to take 6 classes and a PE class, that does allow room for a lunch as well as a study hall. Students can take 5 classes plus PE if they're taking 2 or more advanced classes. So you might be wondering what counts as an advanced course. An advanced course would be a course that is associated with some form of college credit. So an example would be our Project Lead the Way classes that are taught in our technology department, which are accredited through RIT. Some of our FLCC courses, which we refer to as Gemini classes, as well as AP and IB level courses. All of those would fall under that advanced classes category. We encourage you to know the types of diplomas as well as the graduation requirements, and we're going to go over those in a moment. And then additionally, we want you to review the course descriptions online. And most importantly, we want you to challenge yourself. If you're thinking at all about pursuing college after high school, one of the best ways to prepare yourself is by challenging yourself in high school. And colleges see that on your transcript when we submit it during your application process. So let's begin with the types of diplomas. Do you know what type of diploma you're working towards? As you can see here, there's 2. So we've got the Regents Diploma and the Advanced Regents Diploma. And you might be wondering what the differences are. So let's review the differences so you have a better understanding. Differences are within the number of courses required and Regents exams required for each of the diplomas. So let's take a closer look. So this slide talks about the courses required for each and the differences. So if you look on the left, you'll see the Regents courses that are for a Regents diploma, the courses that are required. So you need to take 4 years of English, 4 years of social studies, 3 years of math, 3 science, 1 foreign language, which is surprising to some people. PE, you have to take PE all 4 years, but because PE is every other day, it comes out to what's called 2 credits. Art and music, you have to have 1 year of that, half a year of health, and then you need electives. You'll see at the bottom, all students, regardless of type of diploma, need to earn 22 credits to graduate. So those electives are what help us get to that 22. Now I want to go back to the math and science where it says 3 years. I want to mention that those are minimum requirements put out by the state of New York. If you are, like I mentioned in the previous slide, planning to go to college after high school, we do encourage that all students take 4 years of math and 4 years of science. Because again, colleges will be looking to see if you've challenged yourself throughout high school. So going beyond the minimum is always to your advantage. So when we look at the Advanced Regents Diploma and the courses required, all of those courses that I just mentioned for the Regents are required, but additionally, you need to have 3 credits of a foreign language instead of just 1. So many of you as freshmen are probably sitting in level 2 foreign language because you took level 1 as an 8th grader. So that means at the end of this year, you'll have 2 credits complete. And then you would go on for level 3 in your sophomore year, and you will have satisfied that 3-year foreign language requirement for the Advanced Regents Diploma. So that is the difference in courses. Now, this slide doesn't show this, but I do feel it's important to mention that not all students are strong in the foreign languages, and we understand that. The state of New York does allow for what we call a bypass. So if for some reason you did want to pursue the Advanced Regents Diploma, but you felt that foreign language was not an area of strength for you, you could do a 5-credit bypass in an area, a concentrated area of interest. So that would be technology, business, or art. Those would satisfy that foreign language piece. The difference is you're doing, instead of 3 years of foreign language, you're doing an equivalent of 5 years or 5 credits of a concentration in another area. So you do have to take more coursework in that area, but that is the requirement to replace the foreign language. So those are the differences in courses required for the diplomas. Let's talk about the differences in exams. So for Regents, you need to take ELA, which is our English Language Arts exam. That's usually given at the end of 11th grade. The Global Studies exam, which is given at the end of 10th grade. U.S. History exam, which is given at the end of 11th grade. Algebra. Now, some of you might have taken the Algebra Regents when you were in 8th grade. Many of you are probably sitting in Algebra this year, and you'll take that exam at the end of this year. For the Regents, you need 1 science exam. Usually that is the living environment or earth science. And then you have to pass that level 1 foreign language checkpoint A. So for the Advanced Regents, you need all of those that I just mentioned, but additionally you would need to pass the Geometry Regents as well as the Algebra 2 Regents. You would need a 2nd science exam, and you need to pass the foreign language checkpoint B, which is given at the end of level 3 foreign language. So you'll note here that most students that are going on for an Advanced Regents Diploma are typically strong in the math and science. So those would be areas that are different from one exam or one diploma to another when it comes to the exams. So now, if you were unsure about which type of diploma you were working toward, hopefully you have a better idea now. And like always, if you have questions, you can always just send a message to your counselor and we'd be glad to help you. Next, we're going to discuss your course options for next year. As you progress through high school, you will have the opportunity to take a variety of courses. Let's begin with the core academic areas. So English. Next year, going into 10th grade, you have 2 choices. We have English 10 and Honors English 10. And again, the direction you go is going to be based on your current performance in your English class and the recommendation from your English teacher. So you'll want to talk to your teachers to find out what are the differences between the courses and express to them what your desires are. When we talk about social studies, there are 3 levels of social studies for 10th graders. We have Global 10, Honors Global 10, and AP World 10. Now you can only go into the AP World 10 class if you're currently in AP World 9. And again, we stand firm with sticking with teacher recommendations for next year. And most often those recommendations are based on your current performance in your academic classes. For math, we've got a lot of options here. So if you're currently in algebra, you can go from there into either conceptual geometry or geometry. Conceptual geometry does not have a Regents exam at the end. So that's something to note. If you are currently in geometry, your options are Conceptual Algebra 2 or Algebra 2. And again, the conceptual course does not have a Regents at the end. Conceptual just simply means that it's covering Algebra 2 topics at a slightly slower pace without the stress of the exam at the end of the year. So again, this will all be based on teacher recommendation and your current performance in your math class. If you are in Algebra AB, you would go into Algebra C or slash Geotrig next year. And if you are in ABC 1, you would go into ABC 2. For science, we have a few choices here. If you haven't done earth science, most freshmen will go into earth science as a 10th grader. If you happen to take earth science in 8th grade and you're currently sitting in living environment, you would consider chemistry, honors chemistry, or physics for next year. There are prerequisites for these classes, and I will show you towards the end of this presentation where to find out that information. Foreign language. Again, like I mentioned, many of you are probably sitting in level 2, so you would go on for level 3, but if you are in the level 1 course currently, you would go on for level 2. And in the past, we have had the opportunity to offer an honors Spanish 3 class. That did not run this year, but we're hopeful that it will be available to students next year. And like I mentioned, these are based on recommendation from your teacher. Now to the fun stuff, the electives. This is an opportunity for you to try a course in your area of interest. You can see here we've listed the elective areas and we've put a sampling. This is by no means a complete list of what we have to offer, but a sampling underneath each topic of what might be available for students for next year. Each student has the opportunity to take 1 to 2 electives in their schedule. And we do encourage this. Oftentimes kids, when asked, what do you want to do for a career? They're not sure. These are great opportunities to take some classes to explore different pathways to determine what you might like, what might possibly turn to a career path for you once you leave Canandaigua. The bottom here, we have this academic tab. I'm just going to click it. I want to show you briefly on our website. If you were to go to the school website, the academic tab at the top here is where you're going to find information on courses. Every subject area is listed across the top. I'll just use business as an example. If I were to select this, it's going to take me to the business page. And I'm simply just showing you how to navigate this. You go to the high school. So what business classes does Canandaigua offer? So we have marketing courses, finance courses, management, computer courses, and there's an opportunity for a work experience. So we want to learn more. So for example, marketing classes. Sports and entertainment marketing. That sounds appealing. What is it? If you select it, it will give you a descriptor. So what we're encouraging students to do is spend some time on this academic tab, play around, check out what's available, because our goal is that you're in the driver's seat and you have some control over what electives you get to take next year, your following year, and planning your high school career. So we want you to explore and make some choices that would appeal to you as you go through high school. Going back to our elective slide, I mentioned that each student will have the opportunity to take 1 to 2 electives next year. The way your schedule is set up, in sophomore year, all students have to take health. So health is a half-year class, and it's a full semester. So when you think through your 9 periods in your day, you've got your core classes, then you would take a health class 1 semester. So you're really looking for another half-year course to go opposite health to fill your schedule. If you are a student who doesn't necessarily want or need a study hall, you could choose 2 electives. Oftentimes our music students, so students in band, chorus, orchestra, wind ensemble, they will take their music, but in addition, they have to take health. So they are not able to fit a study hall that semester that they have health. But these are all things that you should consider. Like I mentioned earlier, all students have to have 1 credit of art or music. So if you were not able to fit that this year as a freshman, you should make note to your counselor that you need to complete that requirement so that we can be sure to get that on your schedule as a sophomore. And lastly, what to do next. We want you to look at those course offerings on the website that I just showed you, and then we want you to prepare to tell your counselor what your elective choices are that we can add to your schedule during your counseling meeting this coming spring. That's all we have for you today. If you have questions about the scheduling process, like I said, just send us a Brave Square message and we are more than happy to help throughout the semester. Thanks, everyone.